Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da. Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we've got my interview with Nate and Megan Trinrud, the producers, writers, and showrunners of School Spirit Season 2 out on Paramount+. After that, we'll have my review of the new Ke Huy Quan movie, Love Hurts. Later, BK on the Air joins us from Cartersville, Georgia, to talk about all the new superhero news. All that and more, stand by. We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors, 4 Hogwarts houses, 1 ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all. And if you're driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you. No streaming tonight. Joey V texted me and said he is under the weather, so our best wishes for a very speedy recovery to my executive producer and right-hand man, Joey V. We've got some talk to do today, if that's not even correct way to say something. We're going to talk about the Fantastic Four trailer. We're going to talk a little bit of Superman, the new Jurassic World Rebirth trailer, and if you were watching the big game, they dropped a trailer for the Thunderbolts, which comes out on May the 5th. We're going to get into all that a little bit later on tonight with our friend BK from BK on the Air down in Cartersville, Georgia on WBHF. But first, we've got my conversation with Nate and Megan Trinrud about their show School Spirit. Have you seen this? It's starring Peyton List of Cobra Kai, to name one of many projects that this talented actor has been a part of. And we are talking to them about the second season, which drops. And here is that interview. That wasn't obviously the interview. I hit the wrong button. Here's the interview. Right now we're talking with Nate and Megan Trinrud about a series, Season 2 of School Spirits on Paramount+. Thank you both for your time today.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
It was so exciting to see Midwest people making good. Obviously, we broadcast live here in St. Louis on KTRS. So when I saw that you both were from the air, I'm like, oh, that's so fun. And then obviously with Megan having gone to Wash U right here in my own backyard. So this is so cool to be able to talk to you both.
Yes, we're excited. I love St. Louis.
So I know this series, it was originally a TV series, then it's like, well, let's do a graphic novel because COVID happened, then it's back to a TV series. Was that a rough transition kind of going back and forth, or did it seem pretty seamless?
You know, it's so funny. I think in a way it was a real blessing for us because we'd originally written this show as a pilot script, what they call a spec script in Hollywood. We just wrote it for us and, hoped for the best to see if anybody was interested. And it, kind of got passed around Hollywood for a couple of years, and people liked it, but nothing was happening. And so we ended up sort of taking it out and pitching it as a graphic novel because we thought this idea could really, work on the page. And so we ended up selling it as that. But that opportunity gave us, a bunch of months to really develop the idea further, figure out where the story was going, and make it a sort of more complete idea. Once we'd done that, we took a meeting with our friends at Awesomeness TV and Paramount, who really were into it. I mean, the idea at that point had been so fleshed out that it was pretty easy then for us to take it to them and develop it into an entire television series. So it was a little circuitous, but it really led us to a much deeper understanding of where the story could go and what the show could be.
Absolutely. And as a brother-sister team, you guys have obviously been together your entire lives. Is the writing process
whether we like it or not.
Exactly. You're kind of stuck. Is the writing process and the producing process, is it something that you find you both kind of split in your own camps and be like, I'll handle this end, I'll handle this end? Do you, one of you kind of, one of the aspects of production come more naturally to the other? Talk about the synergy between the two of you on a big project like this.
It's actually been really fortunate because I think that we have a really good combination of skills that don't really overlap all the time. we both always love to write, and so that part comes very naturally, and we've sort of found our footing as far as how we work together on a script. But Nate worked in production for a long time. He's a director. He has been an actor. So he is great at sort of collaborating in those ways on set. He's really great at speaking with actors. He's really, really visual, and that has helped us so much as writers. And I used to be a news producer, so I have some skills that kind of come in handy when we're on set, when we're working in production.
There's a lot of times on set where, you kind of rewrite sometimes full scripts a day before.
Yeah.
Going production on them. And so Megan is unbelievably fast at figuring out how to solve story issues and reconstruct things, move things around. I think that really applies to the post-production process. For our film heads out there, they'll all sort of know that, like, the final stage of writing is editorial, right? It's where you're cutting it together, putting the story together, and Megan's ability to sort of, like, rearrange story points or even scenes, I think is a huge asset for us in getting to our final product.
And I would say that having a partner in a job like this, I can't recommend it enough.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is so much going on. It is very stressful sometimes. So to be able to say to someone you trust, hey, I've got to do this. Can you take care of this?
Divide and conquer.
It makes everything so much better. And it's, two sets of eyes on everything.
Yeah.
Again, to be a writer and you got somebody you really trust and understand, I cannot recommend it enough. Partnerships are great.
I read another article when I was doing my research, and it sounds like, Megan, you break a little easier when it comes to spoilers. I know you tried to keep things from the cast so they would kind of learn about their characters as they go, which I love that kind of process. But was there one member of the cast kind of pushing you a little more than any other? Was there someone who really wanted to know more than another?
They were all pushing for spoilers, but there is really only one person who could break me every time. And it is Sarah Yarkin, who plays Rhonda. I don't know how she does it, but I would find myself just spoiling everything for her. And then I'd have to swear her to secrecy so I didn't get in trouble.
We had to start keeping them apart. Just we knew what they were up to.
Separation.
Somebody had to direct me to another room because I was about to tell her everything. But yeah, no, they were all great, and they were all so... I think we all had so much fun with it, especially in season 1. But season 2 also, they knew a little bit more, obviously, going into season 2 about what to expect. But I think that it just brought kind of an element of fun to the whole process also. So I tried really hard not to spoil for them. But it was tough sometimes because I'm excited about it. I want to talk about it.
And so that kind of answers my question. I was going to say, is the process the same for season 2? Are you keeping them kind of in the dark on a need-to-know basis to kind of get that organic reaction from their characters as they proceed? Or has it kind of changed a little bit now that they've got their sea legs under them from season 1?
Yeah, I mean, in season 1, we were very deceptive. We held back all the scripts until almost the week we started shooting them.
Yeah.
So we would get to see the sort of actors' live reaction as they were discovering things. I remember we got some videos. I think Christian, who plays Simon, recorded himself reading our finale of season 1 and sent it to us. It's amazing. But for season 2, we gave them a larger sort of idea of where we were going with it. But the reality is that, like, the way that these scripts changed and evolved, they still were sort of discovering a lot of them. Maybe only a week or two before we went into shooting them. So they had a little bit more knowledge this season, but I think they were all still pretty surprised as to where the story went.
I think they liked that too. I think just based on how season 1 sort of moved forward, I think a lot of them kind of chose that. We said, if you want to know more, we can tell you more. And most of the actors said, no. I want to see how it unfolds, which was really fun for us.
I'm curious about the casting process. The great cast you've got between Christian, Milo, Sarah, and obviously Peyton. Was there one character that was hardest to cast for any reason? And how hands-on were the both of you in the casting process?
Oh, we were very hands-on. Megan can tell you I'm a bit of I'm a little obsessive. I used to be an actor. That was kind of what I studied in college. And so I really want to give everyone a fair shot. So I would stay up late watching like the hundreds of submissions we got for every character.
He watches every single tape.
And what's amazing is, like, I think we really found a group of people, and we did this in conjunction with Oliver Goldstick, our showrunner, and Max Winkler, who directs our pilot and our second episode. And we just found the best actors for every part. It was such a thrill getting to prioritize performance above anything else. And we were really involved in it. And I think that we've landed with, like, such a special group of actors who take it really seriously, are really funny and really smart, and really, really vulnerable with us. So, you know, it's a joy. And I think more than anything, we are so lucky to get to work with Peyton List. Not only is she an amazing actor, but she's been an incredible producer on the show and just an incredible friend. It's a great, kind group of people, and we really did just get so lucky.
And I think as far as there being one character that was harder to cast than the others, it was amazing because we saw so many incredible actors, but there was just something about this group that ended up on screen that when we saw them, it was sort of like we all knew, yep, this is that person. This is who was meant to play this part.
And as we get into season 2 here, what do you think will be the biggest surprise for people who loved season 1? They're ready to dig into season 2. What's going to be the biggest surprise that people might, without spoiling anything, obviously, that people might be able to look for?
I better not talk.
I was going to say, they don't say a word yet. You know what? People are going to have to watch and find out. But I think people will be surprised about the direction that this goes. I think a lot of people will sort of, after the first 3 episodes, which are out now on Paramount Plus, they'll have some interesting theories, but I'd be surprised if they can figure out where it's all heading. Yeah.
I would say that they might be a little surprised it's a little darker and a little creepier this season, but I think it'll be a good surprise.
And my very final question, are there plans for a season 3? Can you say anything about what will happen at the end of season 2? Will be no spoilers, obviously, but is a season 3 in the works?
Oh, I mean, look, we are ready for season 3 whenever anybody wants it. But as far as where it goes, you know, our lips are sealed. We'll have to wait and see.
Okay. Fair enough. And again, you can catch season 1 and 2 on Paramount Plus. It's been fantastic to talk to you both, Nate and Megan Trinrud. Thank you for your time and continued success to both of you.
Thanks so much.
There they go. Make sure you check out School Spirits on Paramount Plus. I believe the first season, if you want to binge it, if you don't have Paramount Plus, you can binge the first season of School Spirits on, I believe it's Netflix. I will double check that, but I'm 95% sure it is Netflix. We're going to take a very brief commercial break here. We're going to come right back. We are going to review Love Hurts, the new Ke Huy Quan movie that came out this past weekend. BK on the air from Cartersville, Georgia, is standing by to help us break down some of these massive trailers we've had coming out between the Thunderbolts, between the Fantastic Four movie and Jurassic World Rebirth, as well as some other ones. We'll get into all that and more. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Hi, this is George Newbern, the voice of Superman. You are listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Since I don't have David Corenswet or Nicholas Hoult on tap, I figured we'd do the next best Superman we could, George Newbern from Justice League. Want to remind you, too, if you are a fan of Justice League animated series, make sure you check out my other show that I co-host with Susan Eisenberg, the voice of Wonder Woman, Justice League Revisited. We sit down and we go through each episode of the Justice League animated series in the original order in which they aired, and then we break down the episodes with a different guest, be it like a director like Dan Reba, one of the writers like Stan Berkowitz or Rich Fogel, or we might go to the art director, Glenn Murakami. We've had the composers on, dynamic music partner. Of course, we have our voice actor friends like Phil Lamar, Jennifer Hale, Susan Eisenberg, Maria Canales-Barrera, George Newbern, as we just mentioned there, and a host of others. Michael Rosenbaum and Carl Lumley joined us for the Christmas episode Comfort and Joy this past December, and that was a fantastic time. So if you get a chance to check out that Justice League Revisited, wherever you get your podcasts from. Before I bring on my next guest, I want to make sure we talk about our premier sponsor, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. Of course, the website, discoverstcharles.com. A lot of you came out to their second annual festival this past weekend, I should say. Happened today and yesterday, Once Upon a Valentine. You got to go out and do a burn book. You got to write down someone who's wronged you and throw it into Mrs. Havisham's fire from Great Expectations. You could have a art decorating thing with our Casanova and Femme Fatale. You got to create your own sonnets with Romeo and Juliet. A lot of fantastic fun to be had out there. You could visit with the 6 Wives of King Henry, and you could even get a Harlequin romance novel cover recreated with our fabulous Harlequin romance hunk who's out there on the street. The Queen of Hearts led a vow renewal today at the gazebo. It's always fun, these festivals that go on down there. But even when there's not a festival, even when it's not Halloween and you're out there for Legends and Lanterns, or it's Christmas time and you're out there together for Christmas traditions. They've got something going on there. Ice sculpting event, which just went on last month. They've got all sorts of things going on at the Foundry Art Center. They've got food truck days coming up in the spring here as it gets warmer. Tartan days. If you're from Scotland, you can go and enjoy tartan days out on Main Street in April. Lots of fun to be had. Check out the calendar. Just go to the website. Check out the event calendar. DiscoverStCharles.com. DiscoverStCharles.com. A lot of great places to eat out there as well. I always recommend popping into Sugar and Slice. It's this great bakery on South Main Street in the 500 block, if I'm not mistaken. If you want something a little bit different for your Valentine coming up here, less than a week away, it's this Friday. Pop in and grab some macarons or one of their lovely baked treats at Sugar and Slice. You can get some cool merchandise from Chuck and Lou or the Cozy Shop. You get someone a nice cherished memento from First Capital Trading Post. All these small shops and businesses that make up South Main Street. It's fantastic to get out there, see these shops, have some great food at these restaurants, and all your money is going to support local small businesses. Whether you're out of town, like our friend who's on hold right now, BK down in Cartersville, Georgia, or maybe you're here locally. We had some fans come out from Alton, Illinois today, talked to some people from Florissant, and they came to St. Charles here. Plan your trip at the website, no matter where you are starting from. DiscoverStCharles.com. That's DiscoverStCharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. Huge thanks to my friend BK from Cartersville, Georgia, for jumping on air. I had a guest who last minute had to say, you know what, we had to reschedule this. Normally, I've got Joey V sitting right across the console from me. He and I can banter back and forth. But to save all of you from hearing me monologue tonight, BK jumped on the air. BK, thanks very much for joining me tonight.
Hey, hello, everybody listening on KTRS there, and thanks, James, for having me on. Great to be here.
Of course. We like listening to you on Saturday mornings and WBHF down there in Cartersville, Georgia, because you always have a fantastic show that you can catch. The TuneIn radio app is still the best way for people to hear it if they're not in the area, correct?
Yeah, or our website, WBHFradio.org, or use our new app. We have an app through Apple and Android. You can download and stream us live from our app and access our podcast shows, too, yeah.
Perfect. Excellent. But I love having a conversation with you because you're into all the same, I should say most of the stuff that I'm into. And we had a lot of trailers drop. Before we get to the trailers, though, I did promise I was going to give my review of the new Ke Huy Quan movie, Love Hurts. And I remember you said you did not see this one yet, correct?
I have not. That's a short round from Indiana Jones, right?
It is, and he was just the Academy Award winner for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. He won Best Supporting Actor for that, and his acceptance speech at the Academy Awards that year was so moving. He was so just genuinely happy, and he's been having a renaissance and a well-deserved one at that.
I know that Harrison Ford was very happy for him, and there's video of them meeting up and talking about him winning as well. So he's in this one, huh?
Yeah. This is it's his movie. He's the lead. And I was commenting about 30 years ago, this would have been a Jackie Chan movie because it was all the same type of stunts. Like he's left the life. He's no longer a mob enforcer for his brother, and he's doing real estate now. Sean Astin, his friend from the Goonies, he plays the character who kind of owns this real estate company, which Ke Huy Quan is now working at, and he's gotten this great Realtor of the Year award, and the whole time he has his first fight when these people ambush him, it's him trying to save the document from getting crushed and burned in the frame, and he's putting it out of the way, and it's very Jackie Chan-esque in the style of fighting. This is, I would say, objectively, and I hate to say this, objectively, it's a horrible movie. It's okay. A paper-thin plot. The dialogue is not great. But the cast is so charming between Reese Darby is in it. They've got a great cast. Sean Astin, as I mentioned. And the fight choreography is so good. It's incredibly well choreographed, the fight scene. So it's almost worth seeing just for the cast and just for the fighting. Other than that, not much of a plot there. The story's kind of all over the board. Like I said, the dialogue is sophomoric. But overall, if you want something fun to see, if you just want to get out and you want to shut your brain off, maybe it's a first date you're having this weekend. I know I met my wife. Our first date was Valentine's Day. Go out and see a movie. This might be a great one to go out and see out for Valentine's Day. If you're a fan of his, I recommend going to support him, obviously. But other than that, don't expect too much. Keep your expectations low and you won't be disappointed. I went in very much looking forward to this movie, and I was extremely let down on the whole. I'd say out of on a scale of 1 to 10, just by the grace of the cast and the stunt choreography, I give it a 5 out of 10.
All right.
So there is that.
You mentioned Jackie Chan. I noticed he would have been in it years ago. I just saw Jackie Chan in the trailer for the new Karate Kid movie that's coming out on the big screen.
Yeah, because we've got the last season, I shouldn't say last season, the last part of Cobra Kai dropping here in, I think, another week or two, the final part of season 6. And then that's going to lead right into the Karate Kid movie starring both Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan. That's kind of exciting to see.
Yes, and thanks to Flashback Cinema, the organization that puts out releases older films in the theater. If you've never seen them before, you can go back and see them on the big screen. We got to see Gone with the Wind last weekend. Never saw Gone with the Wind on the big screen, so that was great. And today, we went earlier today to see Casablanca with Humphrey Bogart on the big screen.
Oh, really?
Today. That was great. So we saw a bunch of new trailers of things coming our way. So I'm really up on all the trailers.
Oh, very nice. Okay, and that's one of the things that I figured you and I could discuss because we've gotten some doozies, and we just talked about during the big game that just happened. If you're watching that and you're a Chiefs fan, you have my condolences. We had the trailer for the newest trailer, I should say, for the Thunderbolts, which I think after Captain America Brave New World, that's our next Marvel movie that drops on May the 2nd. Were you reading the comic books at the time the Thunderbolts happened back in, I want to say, 1996?
I did see the earlier issues of the Thunderbolts. I didn't collect the entire series, but I am familiar with the group. And, the summer movie blockbusters it will celebrate 50 years this year in 2025 because we started it in 1975 with Jaws. Jaws started our summer blockbuster. So there's a lot that we're going to have. Looks like it's going to be a big summer blockbuster season this year as well, like the last few have been. And yeah, it's going to kick off, I think, with Captain America. Won't be it's not summer yet, but you're right. I think Thunderbolts will kick it off in the theater.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I would like it. I never want a movie to fail. I know there's people out there who are like, oh, this movie looks horrible and it deserves to lose money. I never want that because there's so many people who put their, efforts into this to make it the best movie they can. You've got actors, writers, Foley artists, directors, colorists. They've got the people who do the special effects afterwards. They've got producers and everyone all the way down to craft services, which I loved Colin Farrell thanking craft services when he won his Golden Globe for Penguin. That just made me like the man all the more that he shouted out craft services. But so I never want a movie to fail, but I don't know that Captain America is going to do well at the box office because of all the money they put into reshoots. This is a $450 million film.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I heard about that. I also think that pro or con, whatever you think about comments made by Anthony Mackie, which were controversial not too long ago, I don't think it was a great move to do that because the movie was I don't think it was enjoying a lot of buzz to begin with. I don't know if that was done to cause buzz, but whatever the reason behind it, I don't think it helped it either. And I'll have to speak personally about that film. I wasn't looking that forward to it anyway because I knew it's going to be made mostly by the production team and the writers who did the streaming series Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Correct, and where I didn't hate the show, it wasn't one of my favorite streaming shows from Marvel on Disney Plus, so that didn't give me a lot of confidence anyway. But it's still going to fit into the Marvel puzzle somehow, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think that show had its moments. Again, like you, it wasn't one of my favorites, but I'm going to obviously go see it for Carl Lumbly, who is one of my very favorite actors of all times. He was fantastic as Dupin in the recent Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix. Obviously, he was Dixon in
show.
Alias. Yeah. He was Martian Manhunter, the voice of Martian Manhunter in Justice League, and he was in Mantis, the TV show Mantis, which was a fantastic one of the first superhero shows, if you think about it.
Yeah, and so I'm sure that we'll just have to keep our eye on that one and see how it goes. But as far as Thunderbolts goes, I'm excited for Thunderbolts. It looks a little different. It looks like it's going to be a little funny, a lot of action, and it's the trailer has done its job with me after seeing it. I'm really intrigued by watching it now, and I'm looking forward to that one. Yes.
Yeah, and they did a great job of obscuring the villain. You kind of see the effects of the villain, but you don't actually ever see the villain. We know who it is, of course, but I liked how they kind of obscured what we're going to see. So I'm not sure if that was because they're still working on post-production aspects of the film at this point, or what that could be, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah, looking forward to Thunderbolts. I'll definitely see that in the theater. They're filling an Avengers vacuum, I guess, for the Avengers being disbanded. So we'll see how it does.
Yeah, I'm assuming with Anthony Mackie and Red Hulk, Captain America, we get in February. I'm assuming our post-credit scene that we've become accustomed to in the Marvel movies will be a setup for Thunderbolts, I would guess.
Yeah, that's something else that's been lacking with Marvel too, are coherent post-credit scenes which are actually building up to some of their big event. Now, I know that the Kang storyline was abandoned due to problems with the actor and whatnot, but I think that might have been what got them off track. But hopefully they'll get back on track within sequences, post-credit, pre-credit sequences, or whatever you want to call them. Maybe that'll put us back on track to lead to something bigger now to head us into the last two Avenger movies that are on their way. Yeah, the build-up.
Yeah, because Phase 4 just felt like they were throwing spaghetti at the wall with no real idea of where they were going. And let's try this and this and this now. So I was very disappointed with, I'd say, 90% of Phase 4. Phase 5 is not off to a strong start, but we'll see how it goes. But you were talking about summer blockbusters. Boy, July is going to be nuts.
Yeah, but like just within days and a couple of weeks of 3 different films coming out. Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, we've got Jurassic World Rebirth releasing on July the 2nd. Superman, obviously. We've seen a lot of that one. That's the one we've probably seen the most of. James Gunn's film releasing on July the 11th. And then the Fantastic Four, that one will come out on July 25th. So I pity any movie that was originally slated for a July release date, because those 3 are probably going to dominate.
Yeah, I tell you the honest truth about Jurassic World Rebirth. I saw the trailer, and I'd heard a little bit about it a couple of weeks ago before the trailer came out. When I saw the trailer, it was almost like I was going over to a friend's house to enjoy a meal that they had cooked already that was great. But I'm like, okay, this is the 3rd or 4th time you've cooked this, and it's kind of getting old now. But it did. I mean, it's dinosaurs again. We've got to go to the island to get something. We're in danger. We're running from them. Raptors or get back, and we got some experimental dinosaurs. It didn't intrigue me as much as I thought it would. So that one kind of left me just a little flat. I may still go see it, but it kind of left me flat a little bit.
Yeah, and again, I think this is one of the ones where they're going back to the well too many times. I appreciate what Jurassic World tried to do and kind of expand on, because I enjoyed the original trilogy very much. But I feel like Jurassic World kind of tried to expand on that and bring the dinosaurs out a little bit more. But I feel like when I'm watching this, I'm like, this looks like Jurassic Park 3 with Tay Leone and William H. Macy all over again.
Right. It really did. And I guess we're going to do them kind of in an order of some kind here. But my most anticipated film of the year, for me, I am looking most forward to DC and James Gunn's Superman. I have a giddiness about that, and I'm really, really super optimistic and really looking forward to that movie.
Yeah, I think that's going to be I know there's a lot of contention back and forth because we've got people who still won't let go of the fact that Zack Snyder should still be at the helm of all this. But that ship has sailed, the train has left the station, and we're moving on, and it's time, if these people say they're actually DC Comics fans and not just Snyder fans, I don't know why they're, this looks stupid. No, he's got the trunks on. And, what's with the curly hair as Clark Kent? And they're nitpicking the movie, and it's mostly the Snyder fans I see. So hopefully, if, as they say, they truly are DC Comics fans, they'll put all that aside, give the film a chance, because these are the same people who decided to boycott Justice League because Zack Snyder had to step away from the film and he turned it over to Joss Whedon. So no matter what you felt about the final product of Justice League, these people preemptively boycotted the movie because Zack was no longer given reign over the project, which that's a whole other topic for another show.
I cannot understand the fan toxicity around the Superman film without even having viewed the film yet, because I thought the trailer looked great. It's in the hands of a very well-accomplished director who kind of knows what he's doing, and I think Gunn has a understanding of Superman like Sam Raimi had of Spider-Man, because Sam Raimi had a great grasp on the character of Spider-Man, even emulating some of the Spider-Man covers of the comic books and some of his shots of his film. So I think Gunn's, it's going to be great. I will say that if this Superman film comes out and does not do well and flops, I don't know where they go at this point, because I think that DC and Warner needs something, and this Superman hopefully will be what they need.
It will depend on why it flops. I think if it flops, which I don't know if it will, I don't think this appears to be a movie where James Gunn, he's very obviously, as you said, accomplished. I think he's kept a rein on the budget. I haven't heard reports of this getting out of hand or the budget ballooning up with a bunch of needless reshoots, or the test screening went horrible, let's redo this part or that part.
Right.
So I think that's going to be a saving grace for the film. So even if it doesn't do as well as, let's say, Batman versus Superman that came out in 2016, I think this will still do well enough where it will hopefully be a success. And that's going to depend on, did people show up? Did people boycott the film because they're Snyder bros? Did people not like but you've got Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. She looks very much the part. And she had the great success with, obviously, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She's fantastic. Nicholas Hoult looks amazing as Lex Luthor. My one worry about the film, honestly, BK, is that they're cramming too much into it. It's a Superman film, but we're getting Mr. Terrific. We're getting Guy Gardner. We're getting Maxwell Lord. We're getting Supergirl. We're getting Krypto. Right. I feel like that's my one complaint. If I had to be nitpicky, make it a Superman film. Don't make it a Justice League film.
Right. Don't make that same mistake Snyder made by trying to cram too much in and catch up with Marvel. You shouldn't do that. But I think this is I'm going to be a little nostalgic while watching Superman, because the bulk of it was shot here in our home North Georgia, Atlanta area. The Smallville farm was filmed in Smyrna, Georgia, just south of our radio station in Cartersville. So it's going to be another local. I know they filmed some scenes in some other states, but the bulk of it was in Georgia, and it's another one of those Georgia-based film productions, and we're really proud of that.
Yeah, it's amazing because it seems like everything's either Vancouver or Atlanta. That's where all the filming for all these movies takes place. I'm always very jealous that it's right there in your backyard.
Well, you remembered our town stood in for your St. Charles, Missouri in Guardians Volume 2.
Right.
Believe it or not. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, luckily our current governor, has seen the light and has signed some tax incentives for movies to be shot here, and we're seeing a few more of those start to trickle in. I don't know if we'll get the big budgets. I think they've really got just a working relationship with the city of Atlanta right now, and I mentioned Vancouver, British Columbia as well, because those seem to be the two places that are the new Hollywood, the new LA, and the new New York are those two cities.
Well, since Marvel has pulled out of the Atlanta and Georgia area, they're no longer here. We will see them featured in one last film, and I think it's Thunderbolts. I think it's Captain America. Yeah, Brave New World. There's some scenes shot in Cartersville in our Bartow County Jail there in the town of Cartersville where we are. So I think that was probably the last film. Maybe Thunderbolts was filmed in Georgia. So, but we got another DC movie on the way as well. Marvel's First Family.
That's correct. We've got the Fantastic Four First Steps, which I love the aesthetic of it. Tell you what, before we get into the trailer for that one, start breaking that down, I'm going to take a real quick break. You're okay to stick with me for a while longer?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
All right. We are going to take a brief commercial break. So if you're listening, please stand by. We're going to come back. And if you have any thoughts on any of these movies that we're talking about, feel free to shoot us a text on the KTRS text lines at 84126. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
The voice of Batman bringing us back from commercial break. Batman, of course, reminding you, if you're going to buy comic books, buy them from Bugs Comics and Games. You can check them out on Instagram, Bugs Comics AND Games. Go over and hit the follow button for Larry over there on Instagram, Bugs Comics and Games. Yeah, maybe your comic book shop closed down. I was reading a report there that said a huge number of comic book shops closed down during the pandemic, and a lot of them never reopened. It's very sad. We saw it with toy stores as well, toy stores that were featured on the documentary on Netflix, Toy Store Near Dear You that Brian Volkwace was working on. Fantastic documentary. We got to see that. Kokomo Toys was featured on that. But a lot of these shops closed down. So if your local comic book shop closed down, let Larry and Bugs Comics be your new local comic book store online. Give their Facebook page a like, Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook. If you see something you like that he posts on Instagram, say, hey, that looks good. And go ahead and mark claim. He will send you a PayPal invoice. You pay that, and he ships the comic right to your door. If you might want to go over there and browse, if you're in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area, he's right there on Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri. You can go through and browse the selection of back issues he has from high-end books. He's got the first appearance of Punisher still sitting there, Amazing Spider-Man 129. He's got dollar books and everything in between. We pick up your new comic books from him every Wednesday and join the Avengers Club. That way you save money on your weekly pull list. Oh, and start a weekly pull list. That way you don't miss a comic. I know Mark Spears, his books, Larry pointed his art out to me. He's doing a lot of variant covers, and he's got his book called Monsters, I believe. Issue number 3 has just come out. And I said, wow, this looks great. Is issues number 1, 2? He's like, no, they went quick. So if you want to make sure you lock in books like that do sell out quick, that are from these smaller presses, start your pull list. Say, I want to make sure I get this. That way Larry will order one, even if he doesn't order them all the time. He did that for me with Shadow Man from Valiant. That way, the comic book will be sitting there in your cubby every Wednesday. If you can't make it in on Wednesday, it'll be there when you come in on Thursday or Friday. But that way, you're not missing books. I know a lot of books have been selling out here and there, depending if it's the first appearance of someone. Some of those Spider-Boy comics inexplicably sold out because of first appearances of characters. So you never know. Put the book on your pull list. Join the Avengers Club. That way, you won't miss a book, and you're saving money on your weekly comic books. Bugs Comics and Games. Again, check him out on Facebook.com/Bugs Comics and Games. Give his Instagram page a follow, and he'll be very happy that you did, just like we're very happy to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. I'm your host, James Enstall, joining you every Sunday night at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. It is 10 o'clock Eastern for my guest, who's joining me from Cartersville, Georgia, BK on the air, kind enough to jump in. And before we took that last break, we were just about to delve into the Fantastic Four. Were you a big Fantastic Four fan growing up? Was that one of the comic books you read, or was it something else you were into, BK?
Well, when I was really young and started, I was more into other characters, but I always appreciated when Fantastic Four would cross over into other books, and I had just the occasional issue of theirs, not a lot of them. Later on, when I was a younger adult, I was able to buy back issues of things and catch up. But learning and finding out just how great a series Fantastic Four and what characters they were basically a family, and that's what they always emphasized with the Fantastic Four was families. I watched the Hanna-Barbera cartoon in the 70s, which was great, which included, the later one that included Herbie the Robot, which they decided not to put Human Torch in that show because they thought flames were dangerous for kids. So they put a robot in there instead, and now they've got Johnny and Herbie in the new movie. So I think that's kind of cool too. But yeah, they're great. It's a great book. It's a great story. Great group of characters.
Yeah, and they captured the 1960s aesthetic. Obviously, as we all know, Fantastic Four #1 came out in 1961, and it had that. The movie kind of copies that futuristic aesthetic of the 1960s, where everyone was looking to the moon and we were looking to the space race and things were being modernized. We were all focused on the future. So that aesthetic is well done. And one of the things I love is the look of the Thing. He looks right out of the John Byrne drawn comic books from the I guess the early 200s issues where John Byrne took over the book. He's got that great look to him that I'm sure even Jack Kirby would be very, very proud of how he turned out in this movie.
I couldn't agree more, and the fact that it's set in that era is great. I do think that it is set on a multiverse Earth, which is not part of the MCU Earth that we're used to seeing all of our other characters in, because the cars and a lot of the other things in the scene, not just the Fantastic Car, but everything else in New York and everything looked completely different than it did in the 60s. So I'm thinking it's set somewhere else, because if you watch the trailer again, you can see Reed Richards looking at this, figuring out things on this big chalkboard, and there's a corner of it that's got the multiverse diagram that he's written, so he knows about it. So I'm very, very optimistic about this film too. It looks great. The costumes look great. All the actors look great. You've got the kid from Stranger Things playing Johnny Storm, Pedro Pascal, who some people think is overused now in a lot of things, but I think he's going to bring it. When I heard him speak as Reed Richards in the trailer, I'm like, that just sounds like Reed Richards talking. It was a great way of presenting those lines that he was saying. So this is another one where I think, how long have we been waiting for a great, well-done Fantastic Four movie? My favorite Fantastic Four movie so far, I tell you, from my heart, I'm going to say this. My favorite so far has been the 1994 Roger Corman cheap movie that they made because they didn't have a budget. They had to make it under contract, and it had more heart than any other film that they did after that. I just thought that was a great way to do it with Hyde White and some other actors in it too, and I thought it was great. This one, I think, is going to bring us where we're supposed to be, and they will get pulled into the other multi-universe and meet everybody else. I think that's where we're headed with this.
Yeah, I did like, I will say, of the mid 2000s, wherever that first one came out, 2005, and the second one was what, 2008, maybe I have to date backwards. But I liked Ian Gruffudd as Reed Richards. I thought that was perfect casting. Yes. I loved him in that role. And obviously, we also had Chris Evans as Human Torch, which was pretty ironic now that he's playing Captain America. And they did that little joke in Deadpool versus Wolverine, which I loved. We thought we were going to get Captain America, and it ends up he's a Johnny Storm variant.
Right. And will we or will we not, since we know Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Dr. Doom now, will we get a post-credit sequence in Fantastic Four of him showing up at the end, showing what he's up to, what's going to happen, because he was always a big Fantastic Four villain, obviously.
Yeah, and again, I can't remember how much you and I discussed that. I am not a fan of that casting. I will come on record because as soon as they revealed that at San Diego Comic-Con, I know everyone was losing their collective minds, and my first thought was, oh, no, absolutely not. So unless they somehow roll this in where he's a Doom variant, because you've got fantastic, and I know he's going to show up in Captain America, he's already cast as a person, but we've done double dipping before. I thought Giancarlo Esposito would make a fantastic Dr. Doom.
He would have, and I think that I think Robert Downey Jr. is going to be probably playing it's not Tony Stark, he's just playing Victor Von Doom, I think, and they've just cast him as the character, and I thought it was interesting, and I was shocked, but I think maybe it was done to create buzz and to shock people, and to go, oh, wait, people miss these people and we're faltering right now. Let's bring back some of the old cast to play somebody. Whether that's going to work or not, I don't know. I guess time will tell, and we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying he is Dr. Doom. I don't think I've seen him referred to as Victor Von Doom. So I wonder if it's going to be like a superior Iron Man thing where it's actually, nefarious Iron Man, because there was that brief instance in the comic books, I want to say 2014 or 15, where Victor Von Doom was Iron Man. So I wonder if this is actually a variant of Tony Stark, which I'd be okay with depending on how they pull off the story. But with lately what Marvel and Disney have been doing, I don't have a lot of faith that they're going to pull off the story properly anymore.
Right, very much so, and I agree with that too. I also saw reports that Chris Evans was coming back as as some character, possibly a Hydra Captain America, and now he's come out to say, no, I'm retired. I'm not coming back to Marvel. But I don't know if he is, and he's just saying he's not because he doesn't want to let it out of the bag. So you never know what's going on behind the scenes. We'll know sooner or later.
Yeah, I know. I'm hoping Chris Hemsworth gets some redemption, because that last Thor movie was one of my least favorite Thor movies of all time, which I was sad to say, because dealing with the Jane Foster, if you read the original Jason Aaron run where Jane Foster became Thor for that period, it was brilliant. It was brutal and heart-wrenching, and I feel like they did that storyline kind of a disservice by having way too much humor in what could have been a very, almost a first Thor type of movie. Very serious, very dramatized. I feel like turning Thor into a goofy character, that wasn't a good direction to take.
You didn't like the fourth or fifth scene of the goats screaming, and it just wasn't funny after a while?
It was funny for the first time, and then the second time I was like, oh yeah, the goats are screaming. By the third time I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's right. And Love and Thunder was great because it had a nice mixture of comedy and seriousness, and I thought they hit it right with that. But I think they tried to notch it up to 11, like in Spinal Tap, and that doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah. I think with the other one, Ragnarok, it was okay. It's like, oh, okay, you're making him a little bit of an idiot, but but it's it's humorous, and I like where you're going with it. But they just they did it too much, and the love affair with his hammer being jealous of his axe that he had now, Stormbreaker, is kind of like, all right, we're going a little too much Taika Waititi on this one. We need to kind of bring it back to Kenneth Branagh levels.
I know that we're talking movies too, but my goodness, we're going to have a new streaming series coming out from Marvel that's going to be a continuation of what I believe is Marvel's best streaming show they've done in all history of Marvel on television. And for me, that's Daredevil. Daredevil Born Again is coming out too.
Yeah, and I know they got the original cast is back. Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin. And I think from what I've seen, this is going to be the Kingpin that we saw in season 1 of Hawkeye, where they kind of upped the powers, because in the original Netflix Daredevil, he was a man who was fairly strong, knew how to fight. But obviously in this one, he's more like that strength, the Kingpin we expect in comic books, where he's lifting cars and things like that. He can actually... He's got some more power to him, a little more durability to him, because he took an arrow from Hawkeye with no problem. He got hit by a car and just kind of brushed it off. So I'm interested to see a more powerful Kingpin.
Yeah, me too. I'll never forget the issue of Spider-Man I got in the 70s, and I can't remember what number it is, but it's Kingpin on the cover holding up a couch or something, about to slam it down on Spider-Man lying on the ground. And Kingpin back then, they drew him like as big as the Hulk in some points, and it was just very powerful. So that may be what we're getting, is something like that. That'd be great.
Yeah, something a little more than just a man they're fighting. And I think we've got, obviously, I can't remember, her name is now escaping me, who played Karen Page.
Great actress. I can't remember.
Deborah Ann Woll. There we go. It just took me a minute to think. Deborah Ann Woll. She's back. The fact that they got the cast, because how rare is that when you do a show and you get the entire original cast to come back for it? That's impressive.
And the creative folks behind the new Born Again, they said they started the show, locked themselves in an office that they had rented to do production, and started looking through old Daredevil issues of comics to get some inspiration to start this new show off of. And I heard that, and I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. I like hearing that.
But my thought is, too, with it being called Born Again, they can't really do the Born Again story. We already had Daredevil Born Again with that 3rd season on Netflix, where people thought he was dead. He came back. Kingpin subsequently ruined his life. This is from the great run that Frank Miller was writing. And I think I would say it started in Daredevil issue 224 and went through issue 232 of the original Daredevil series. Was Kingpin just systematically broke down Matt Murdock's life until he had nothing left. Yeah. And that's the whole impetus of the Daredevil Born Again story. So they've already done that, and I don't see them doing that with this new series, because the right pieces aren't in place, and I think it's a little bit of a dark story for Disney Plus to be trying to take on.
I'm going to guess that Born Again probably with them means the show is coming back, and it's Born Again from the old show that was on, and now it's something new.
Right.
Because we know that Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, they'll take those subtitled for those movies, but they won't be just like the comic books. They'll be changed somewhat, but yeah.
You mean like Secret Invasion, where it didn't have anything to do with any of the superheroes and was basically Falcon and Winter Soldier with Skrulls?
Right, yeah, with Nick Fury, you're right.
Yeah, that was, I got to say, there haven't been many Marvel projects where I've just left. I quit halfway through it and haven't gone back to see it. It bored me. Yeah,
I mean, they've had their ups and downs, but certainly it's an exciting time this year, again, to be a comic book fan of these movies, because you and I'm a little older than you, but it doesn't matter that much. When we both grew up reading these things, wondering how great it would be to have these as movies and TV series that weren't, had horrible budgets where they were confined to CBS television back in the day. Even though the Hulk with Bill Bixby, they did a really good job with that, because they just basically turned it into The Fugitive, and it was well written by Kenneth Johnson. So, but I'm looking forward to a lot. But I also heard that we got another movie on the horizon. It's Mandalorian and Grogu is hitting the big screens from Star Wars, and I'd forgotten, or maybe forgot, that I even heard that Sigourney Weaver is in the movie in some sort of secret role. And she came out, I think it was yesterday, in an interview and quoted as saying, Grogu is going to do some amazing things in this film. I can't wait for you to see it. And that's all she said. So I'm like, is he going to fight like Yoda in the prequels? I don't know. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see if there's a time jump. I'm not sure how far after the events of season 3 this one's set. I haven't dug too deeply into it. But we'll be interested to see how all that turns out. And I think hopefully they get back to what made, because season 3 was kind of a rough season. I didn't like it as much. You know that meme where they have the horse and the first they got season 1 is the perfect drawing of a horse, season 2 great drawing of a horse, and the third one season 3 underneath it looks like a third grader drew the horse's head. That's what we got.
Right. That's true. Yeah, and I'm kind of happy to hear that it's coming to the theater. I'll go see it like I'm going to see everything else. But it's definitely a great time to be a fan of this stuff, because you and I, talking about it on the radio, gives us some great information and great entertainment to bring to the folks over the air.
It absolutely does. We've not got a lot of time left, but I do need to hit one more commercial break. Can you hang with me for a few more minutes?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Perfect. All right, so if you're listening right now, stand by. We're going to take a very short commercial break. We'll come right back and wrap up the show. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
This is William Daniels, and you're listening to Geek to Me.
The voice of Kit from Knight Rider, bringing us back from commercial break as we wrap up the show here. Geek to Me Radio, heard every Sunday night at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on the Big 550 KTRS. That, of course, is 9 o'clock to all my local friends here in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles listening area. Speaking of St. Charles, make sure you put Memorial Day weekend on your calendar. If you are a fan of what we've been talking about here, we've got a great Comic-Con coming to historic St. Charles at the Foundry Art Center. You'll be able to hobnob with the cast of the Justice League, Phil Lamar, Susan Eisenberg, Maria Canals-Barrera, plus director and artist Dan Reba join us, and executive producer and fantastic writer Alan Burnett will be there as well. Over at the Steel Shop, which is just a couple blocks away, a third of a mile walk at most, you'll be able to see some of the greatest comic book creators of our time. We've got Roy Thomas coming, who is Stan Lee's hand-picked heir at Marvel Comics as editor. Roy oversaw the creation of characters like Man-Thing, like Wolverine, like Tigra. There was a lot of characters at Marvel Comics that were under his purview that he either created or oversaw their creation, and he's full of great stories from that time at Marvel that just is, we're seeing all these people come to light now here in the comic book world. We just got done talking about Thunderbolts. He was one of the people who helped create Red Guardian, for example, and you'll be able to see him. One of my favorite Spider-Man artists, Mark Bagley, will be there. Fantastic artist. And we've also got Keith Williams, Chuck Patton, just to name a few, Stephen Butler, and more coming to St. Charles. Go to the number 2 riverscomiccon.com to get your tickets. Ticket prices increase, and they will be going up on Valentine's Day. Love hurts, friends, but doesn't hurt as bad as missing out on early bird savings. So go to tworiverscomiccon.com/tickets. Get your tickets now before prices go up on Valentine's Day, and we'll see you at Two Rivers Comic Con in historic St. Charles. Wrapping up the show here with my friend BK from Cartersville, Georgia. So many movies that we've gotten a chance to talk about here. If you could only see one, do you think Superman would be the one you'd want to go see?
Yes, that's the one I'm looking most forward to. And I heard you mention Roy Thomas. I think wasn't Roy involved with Tomb of Dracula and with Marvel as well?
Yeah, Tomb of Dracula. He also wrote Conan. He was the co-creator of Red Sonja as well. He took over Conan, and we're working on. I'll let you guys know this, and we haven't made it official yet because we're still working on finalizing arrangements, but we're hoping to have a special showing of Conan the Barbarian from 1982 with the talkback by Roy Thomas beforehand to kind of do a Q&A at the end of the show as well. So if you have a weekend pass for Two Rivers Comic Con, that will be an extra ticket that you can get to do the screening of Roy Thomas's 1982 Conan the Barbarian.
What a great book Tomb of Dracula was. Also, I've also heard that right quick, Chris Columbus, responsible for the first Harry Potter movies and Home Alone, great director in his own right, is bringing back Gremlins 3 and a Goonies either reboot or a sequel too as well. He's working on both of those, I've heard.
I think that would be, I was talking to somebody about this, and I said some of the greatest movies that I've seen in the past 5 years are sequels that have taken place 30 years or more after the original. Top Gun Maverick was a great example of that. Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. and it's great. But back to your original question, yes, I am the most looking forward to is Superman for some reason. I'm a big Superman fan. Superman is my favorite DC comic character, always has been. He's just a great truth, justice, and American way, bright, shining good guy, and when he's done right, he's not. Let's remember, he's not dark. Don't make dark Superman movies. Make superhero Superman movies. You want to save the dark for Batman and Wolverine and those other guys. But I think that's the thing that James Gunn's bringing, and hopefully, that's the one that's going to do it and bring him back.
Let's hope so. We just have 1 minute left. Tell everyone again. Remind them where they can find you if they want to hear your show on Saturdays.
Well, yes, I call you and I bookends of the weekend. You're on Sunday, and I'm on Saturday morning from 10 a.m. till noon Eastern on WBHF Radio. That's 100.3 FM and AM 1450 in Cartersville, Georgia, just northwest of Atlanta. We're a suburb. And if you can't listen on the radio, if you're too far away, you can always stream us on our website, WBHFradio.org, or download our free app, WBHF Radio app, for both platforms of phones that you have. And you can also use a TuneIn app or the Radio Garden app. So there's so many ways to listen to the show, and you can even listen to our podcast. If you missed the show, we upload it in a podcast. But, I talk about a lot what James Install does here at Geek to Me Radio, the movies, the pop culture, the comic books, the born in the 60s, growing up in the 70s. I graduated high school in the early 80s. It's just the stuff that we love, pop culture, growing up, and we make a radio show out of it. And we both have some of the best bumper music in talk radio. You played that Asia earlier, and I was rocking out to Asia. That was great.
Gotta love the 80s tunes. BK, I can't thank you enough for jumping on the air with me here tonight and helping me muddle through this show. Thank you so much, and we'll hopefully talk to you again very soon.
Anytime, buddy. You need me anytime. Have a great rest of your night.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.
There he goes, BK on there. We'll have links to his show if you're interested in that. We'll have links in the show notes. If you're hearing us in the podcast form, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and we'll have a link right there where you can pick up his show every Saturday morning. Thank you to Nate and Megan Trinrud. Remember, again, check out School Spirit Season 2, currently streaming on Paramount+. Thank you to BK on the air for joining us. Thank you to our sponsors, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau, Bugs, Comics and Games, and until next week...